the system, I'm headed out. I know I should try. Don't want people asking why. I just wanna be high. I'ma hang with my niggas outside, yeah. I'm living, I'm sinning, I'm sorry, committing.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 11 of season 2 of Campus Cuts. Today, I got somebody from ATL, ho. We got somebody from Atlanta, Georgia. We got an athlete. We got an artist. We got a fashionista. We got somebody that's very intelligent. She does a lot of things well. She competed in this Black and Gold. I saw that process.
Oh yes.
We got an All-American right over here. You know, we got somebody that on the board. She's got it all. She's got it all.
Oh, thank you.
Just want to say, I want to introduce the VP, Victoria Powell. What's up?
Yes, what's going on? Thank you so much for having me on your show, Tanaka.
Nah. No, thank you for being for even taking part. I just want to say first and foremost, it's an honor. Somebody that's especially very busy. Sounds like you're working.
Yes, I am. I've got to stay busy, always working. So just trying to make use of good time.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for just being here. So, of course, you know, an introduction can only do so much, but I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. Campus Cuts is supposed to embrace like diversity and whatever. Not whatever. Diversity and inclusion, but specifically equity. Having great conversations about the guests and making sure we put in the spotlight and bringing an opportunity for people to know more about you.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, of course, you know, we got to start out with the basic information. What is your name? What is your year? What are you studying? I'm not sure if you can say major in grad school. I don't know. And what's your hometown? And then why did you choose both Baylor and Georgia?
Sure. Okay, well, let's dive on right into it. Well, y'all know me. I'm Victoria Powell. Year-wise, I guess in terms of eligibility, I'm still a senior. I graduated from Baylor early, so I'm in my first year in my master's program at the University of Georgia, emerging media. And so I guess emerging media doesn't really have a very good description, but it's more like, you know, website design, a little bit of writing, learning how to use, you know, different apps and build apps, create websites, and do maybe interface design and things like that. I was born in Jersey, so I rep 9-3 as well as 404. Got down.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And I was born in Hoboken, across the river from Manhattan. And why I chose Baylor, you know, obviously for me, athletics had a lot to do with that. But coming out of high school, you know, I really wanted a good college that would fit me both athletically and academically. And, you know, everybody knows Baylor for its academic repertoire and, you know, historically just some great people coming out of there, graduated from there. And Coach Clyde Hart had created such a strong track and field affinity through Baylor and kind of built the program up success as well as the success on the coaching staff. So it was the best fit for me for both worlds. And so, you know, I'm very blessed to have gone through Baylor and I enjoyed my time there. And so now we're on to this next phase, this second degree, trying to get some more work done. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, second, man, that is an amazing. And it's so funny how fast you got through that, but you were a standout athlete at Baylor.
You know, I had to make a little bit of an impression. It was definitely a ride. It's some stories will be told. You know, it was a good time had by all. I really enjoyed my time there, and I mean, because I graduated a little faster than normal, I get to enjoy one more year of track. You know, even though the corona stopped the season for the rest of the summer, but you know, thankfully the NCAA is going to give us our outdoor season back, so I'll be back in action about this time next year. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So you will, yeah, like talk about that. So the NCAA granted that you guys will be able to run. Is that for every athlete, like anybody that's a senior or that's graduating?
So as far as I know, eligibility has been extended to all the people that I guess would normally get this season. So if your senior season, your freshman season, sophomore, whatever got cut, this outdoor season will be granted back to you. I'm not sure, like how certain universities are going to work out the logistics of giving people their scholarships back and all that other kind of stuff, incoming freshmen, dealing with the money issues. I'm glad that's not on me, but they're going to have to figure it out some kind of way. But yeah, it was up to the athletes. I guess you could have chosen if you wanted to take the season back and compete, or, I know a couple seniors, even at Georgia, that, they really planned on this being their last year doing school and running track. And for some of them, logistically, it wasn't possible for you as a senior to come back and maybe enroll in a graduate program. And if you were already planning on graduating, you know what I'm saying? So some of them just kind of one and done. And unfortunately, it's a bad way to go out, but you got to make the most of it. So
Yeah, yeah. And then so for you, why did you decide to you making the choice of being able to sustain staying? I mean, granted, grad school, it takes about what? It's 2 years, correct?
yeah, mine is a 2-year program.
Okay. So you're not burnt out. You're not tired.
Oh, Tanaka, we're all tired, but you got to keep running. I mean, for me, it really was a good moment there where I was thinking about not running, just because I have, a really good, hopefully, if everything stays as planned, I have a really good internship lined up with Nike this summer in their New York headquarters. So initially, I kind of just wanted to transition into, trying to do some new things and prep to see what it's like at this internship, what it's like in the job world. But for me, I think transitioning to a new school, personally for me, I think that every athlete should get a grace period, because it does take a minute to adjust to a new school, to adjust to new coaches, new team, new friends, new studies. So I think for me, this first year at Georgia didn't exactly go how I wanted it to. So for me, this is kind of like a reset button, to try again. And after having been in the program now, I guess, for technically what would have been a full year, when I return in August to start the second year of my graduate program, I might have a better shot. If you're going to go for it, you got to go 100%. So when you say yes, you say yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good, really good. So I mean, of course, unfortunately, due to Rona, a lot of things have stopped. And just what is it like, when you used to be, I guess, a top dog at one program, it's saying you were well known, you already had an established base, and you leave early. And what is that transition like, going to a whole definitely a whole different conference too, a more I don't want to say that, no, the Big 12 is absolutely competitive, but I mean SEC, that when you with football, basketball, track and field, that's a slaughter conference.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of bigger schools are there, and that's a whole different conference. What was that transition like, saying, okay, came from over here to now being able to completely new, restarting, and as well as just the adjustment period of going to a different school? Of course, you're from you live in Atlanta, you grew up there, but then now you left and you come back. Just talk about that experience, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, no, of course. I think, transitioning from Big 12 to SEC was definitely a culture shock. My first football game was insane. Even though, as I was leaving Baylor, the football team was trying to get back in their groove and, improve upon that. SEC football is just a whole nother monster. And so that was definitely a shock to the system, but it was a really cool, super cool experience. And UGA, Athens, Georgia is very so much a college town. So they live and breathe red and black. They go for their dogs. It's just like any college town, but I guess just due to the number of students that go to UGA, it's kind of overwhelming at some points. But that was definitely a huge shift, as well as a huge shift in the amount of talent. There's just so many large public universities that are in the SEC. You just can't turn your back. There's somebody coming right up after you. So it was definitely a change in competition levels as well. And then for school wise, I think it was a big transition just period, because, I was moving to graduate school, and undergrad and graduate school are completely different. Especially if you're not continuing your second degree at your undergraduate school. So I didn't know anybody in the program, and the only previous introduction that I had before school actually started was my supervisor, my boss. So with my graduate teaching assistantship, so I was kind of on my own for a little bit, but per usual, sport kind of brings you affinity. So I knew a couple girls from the Georgia area, from high school, from middle school back in the day. So I got to reconnect with old friends and some old teammates. That was honestly the best part about returning to Georgia. And everything else has kind of just been, step by step and learning a new groove, because I was, very much so comfortable in my routine in Waco. We had our friends on campus, we had our friends on the team, we had other friends in different sports within the athletic department. So coming into a whole new like ecosystem was very daunting in the beginning, but you try to be as social as you can and get out there and experience some new things, just as you would just as a freshman would. So you kind of got to pretend that you're just new all over again.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. And so what did you graduate with in your undergrad?
Yeah, and I graduated this past summer with a journalism degree and a concentration in public relations.
Oh, so you want to go into journalism?
Now I'm not so sure. I don't know. Things have been shifting as I've been like getting deeper into this emerging media program, but I'm just taking it as it comes. I can't pick and choose right now. Whatever opportunities open to me, I'm more than willing to say yes and try them out.
Okay, that's really interesting. And of course, whenever you're somebody that is at your degree competing at two um, highly coveted Division 1 programs,
Mm-hmm.
and your life is basically athletics.
Right.
And but then I wanted to get specifically people like you. I had JB on the podcast as well earlier no, was it this? No, yeah, I only started this podcast 2 months ago, but it feels like forever. Earlier, a couple months ago. And I really wanted you to break down the stereotype of being an athlete. And I guess for you, what I mean, the whole conversation is, you have the movement more than an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
What does that slogan mean to you?
Yeah, the slogan, more than my athlete, I am more than my sport. It's definitely something that people hold over your head. I actually remember the first day that I went into the journalism building on UGA's campus. I didn't know that it was like a super, super formal meeting. So, I had some jeans on, I had old track and field shirt on. And I just remember walking into the building and all these students, were dressed in their, I think, school like prep career day or something like that. They had suits and everything, and I was like, oops, I guess it's too late to go back home now. And so I walked into the meeting with my supervisor, and I sat down, and the other graduate teaching assistants that were assisting other classes that semester, I remember one guy was like 37, the other girls were like 26, 28, and one of the women was, I think, in her mid 30s, and she had 2 kids. And so I was the youngest person in that room. I was 21, and I'm in a master's program trying to help other kids learn. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. But when I found out that I was an athlete, they were really reserved and kind of, I wouldn't be able to devote, I guess, enough time to, doing my job correctly and making sure that athletic wouldn't conflict with whatever programs they had going on. And that's inevitable. Track always has to come first, in the sense, because it's kind of paying for you to be a job, in
Yeah.
a sense. So it was kind of not frustrating, but a little repetitive to tell them over and over again. It's just, I have a different priority rankings, but I know personally, what has to get done and what. But because I signed up for this, and because that's what I'm here for, I will always assure that the work is going to get done, and I'll be able to handle whatever you throw at me. And it took maybe for them to get that, okay, like, she has a lot on her plate, but it'll get done, and it'll get done. So I think just being like a different kind of person was a little bit of a shock at first, but everything's cool now, and hopefully things will return to normalcy, in August.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true, man. And I'm grateful that you were able just to be honest and vulnerable, because I just know that whenever I was talking to my friends, there's always that just stereotype that you guys don't care much, and especially I don't know what it is to be in grad school. Obviously, I heard it's a different beast, and
Mhm.
it's crazy. And what gave you the decision to be able to go take on that next step into receiving higher education? And because higher education, especially within this time, it just feels like that whenever you graduate, right? There's two routes you can go to the
Mhm.
workforce or continue to pursue higher education. But now, as we're continuing to go on through our journey, as we feel like the undergrad degree is becoming more obsolete,
Right.
and now it's like kind of more recommended for us. Okay, go grad school. But then, like, why did you personally decide to go over to the next level to pursue higher education?
Right. Well, for me, I think I kind of made my decision that fall semester of junior year at Baylor. I remember I was walking to class, and we hadn't gotten too far into the school year yet, so it might have been September. And I was taking some of my classes. Like I had my last French elective, I had chap, I had a whole bunch of easy, I had yoga and all sort of kind of stuff. And I was just like, well, because I don't have a lot of classes right now that are requiring a lot of work for me to be doing like at home or maybe after track practice, I really could pick up some extra credits. And so I went into the dean's office, and I had to go over 18 hours. And in the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. I'm bowling and yoga and everything. Like I can take, a history class and another class right now. And as soon as I signed up for those classes, I was like, oh, this is a lot of work. So I think I definitely pushed myself past like my academic threshold that first fall semester. And then when I got to spring, I had completed enough hours. So I might as well just take maybe another extra class, and I could really graduate and be done at the end of the summer. So it was kind of just a whim, and I went with it. And then by the time I was done and I had enough credits to graduate, I said, well, now I have 1 year left of eligibility. So I started looking into whether the Baylor graduate journalism program was going to be a good fit for me. And at that point, I said, well, now that I've graduated, I guess that does open some other doors. And so I said, well, instead of maybe trying to just stay where I am, maybe I should explore some other options. And so that process was I had to enter myself into the transfer portal for track and field through the coaches and through the compliance office and everything like that. And then I had to start applying for graduate school. So I guess the difference was, for undergrad or for somebody that's getting picked up as a transfer, you just have to make sure all your classes roll over and, your grade point average is something, something, and whatever. But for the graduate program, I had to get accepted into the school first. So it was a little worrisome trying to get the results back and see if I had made it into a couple of programs. And so when I found out that I made it into UGA's program, I was like, well, I guess we'll just try and give it a shot. I can run track for them and I can start this degree and see what happens. And so I just kind of went with it. And then out there, things were slowly starting to get into a groove, and I started figuring out what I wanted to do. And honestly, now this Corona stuff, now that this outdoor season got canceled, because I get to return again in the fall and fall training, and then compete for outdoor season, I guess that year gets paid for as well. So I think I'm kind of lucky, maybe in a way, that I got away with almost 5.5 years of track and field, paid for. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so if it's working, it's working. You got to keep going with it. So
yeah. That's a beautiful opportunity. Like, so you're telling me that you got your whole college career, you got your whole college paid for.
yeah, and I got to run the whole time. It's a blessing and a curse right now, but it's definitely worked out best for me.
Wow. And I mean, of course, whenever you are in a position to be a full scholarship athlete, that does come with a responsibility to perform at a higher level.
Right.
So I can understand that is a lot of pressure in itself, because when most people, whenever they think about, oh, athletics, man, all they got to do is just run, whatever, they get full scholarships. A lot of people are envious.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you navigate whenever, I guess, when you were first starting and going to, like, whether at Baylor or Georgia, navigating friendships and understanding that I can't really, I'm on a level, and I hope you understand that I might be a full-time scholarship, I might be a full scholarship athlete, but there's no reason for you to have envy. But how did you get, like, navigate through jealousy and stuff like that, and people just underestimating you, like, just saying, man, she's on a scholarship, she's just an athlete, not
Mm-hmm.
an academic.
Yeah, well, and I think that question kind of answers why, for the most part, athletes hang out with athletes and maybe don't really have a lot of crossover friends, don't participate in sports. I think it's easier to, get along with people that you have an affinity with. Maybe I've never personally faced any kind of maybe like jealousy for, having a scholarship and competing or running at a university, but I guess it's just like an underlying component in that friendship where if I walk up to a girl that's on the basketball team, in the bank, and we're laughing and chopping it up and doing whatever, we can have that friendship and we're both in the same area because we both do, or we're both here for the same thing. She's here to play basketball and she may have a certain amount of scholarship money. I'm here to run track and I'm here to do that job, and they're paying me to run well, and so we both have that same kind of pressure on ourselves, and so it's easier to maybe form a friendship with that unspoken understanding. Maybe who doesn't participate in sports, but is at Georgia and football games and loves supporting the athletic department and doesn't do sports themselves. Maybe if they have like an athlete in their class and you guys have like a project together, if that person has to be at practice from 6 to 8 in the morning, and then have to go to the lift at 2 to 3 in the afternoon, and then they have like an evening practice and they're out all hours of the day, they can't meet you for a group project at 10, 11 o'clock at night because they have to get ready to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning again. It's that understanding between those two people isn't there, and so maybe that comes off as, oh, he doesn't care about this class, he doesn't care about our grades, she doesn't care about our project, they don't care about what we're supposed to be doing on the academic side, when in actuality, like, an athlete has to learn a specific way to balance their academic and athletic responsibilities in a way that a person who doesn't compete in sports, they wouldn't understand how to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, that does, like, you have that learning of discipline, and I guess,
Mm-hmm.
like, with that discipline, what has that taught you? I mean, what have you learned from just having that such a disciplined regimen, and how is that translating into the next chapter of your life, and even as you continue to seek into your career after you graduate?
Mm-hmm. I mean, being involved in sports for as long as I have, in the beginning, my first sport was track, and then I picked up basketball along the way. So being in some kind of competitive atmosphere taught me how to be competitive in all things, which means like competitiveness kind of translated into time management. It's just like, I need to turn this project in before it's late because, I wouldn't want to show up late to practice, want to come to basketball practice and not have known the plays and then look dumb at practice and the coach get mad at me. So I wouldn't want my teacher to be upset with me, or I wouldn't want to be upset at myself for not getting done. I should have gotten done. So I think like that competitive mindset, being able to bring it into every other aspect in your life, whether it pertains to sports or not, is a really good way to keep yourself accountable. And I mean, it's definitely something that everybody can teach themselves. Like, you teach yourself to be competitive in every, and set little goals and markers for you to follow along the way to motivate yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to, be um, putting yourself up against somebody else as a measure, which is, maybe not the best thing to do. But, you are, like my dad always tells, best and worst competition. So, like, if you're going to push yourself, you push yourself past what your self would want to be at. And I mean, you can do that in your work, you can do that in your creative process, and you can do that in, you know, I don't know, household activities. Like, it doesn't really matter what it is. You just got to make sure that you're doing it to the best of your ability and doing it to, level.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And then now, like this is kind of off the subject as we continue to transition. But as you said that you graduated early, and with most the big thing with people that do graduate college is the understanding of post grad depression.
Hmm.
Um, did you after you graduate, did you experience any of that post grad depression? I know that you transitioned straight into a graduate program, but
Hmm.
I mean, did you have like any experiences like maybe like, oh man, I miss my people back there, or maybe you even question yourself like, I'm not sure what I'm really doing.
Oh yeah, I miss Baylor all the time. It was definitely.
Really?
Oh yes, I miss y'all, man. Like, I really think I took a lot of the situations and fun times back in the day like for granted, because I just, at some points, I was so ready to move on to the next step. Maybe if I didn't have a good race, I was looking forward to next weekend so I could try and run again. Or if I didn't have like a exam, I was just like, well, now I gotta do this project, do this project, do this project to get my grade back up. And I wasn't living in the moment to experience what was going on campus. But I mean, I miss my friends, I miss the team. I miss all those friends that I made in classes along the way, in the journalism department, hanging out with y'all, going to pool parties, going to functions, competing in Miss Black and Old Gold, like all of that. It was really fun. And it was giving me something, outside of track and field. And that's why I wanted to do it. And so when I graduated, I was so happy. I got to see everybody that my best friend Aaliyah, she came to the graduation. My roommate Amani came to the graduation. I was so happy to have everybody there, and literally fly back to Dallas and drive to Waco to make it to the graduation because UGA's master's program had started already. So I missed class on Thursday and Friday. Yeah, I class on Thursday, flew to Texas, stayed the night, and then drove down to Waco, went to the graduation. My aunt and uncle live in Houston, drove up from Houston to come see me graduate, and said happy congrats, and kisses and hugs, and then we jumped back in the car and drove to Dallas and went back home to Georgia because I had to go to class that next weekend and drive back to Athens. So super weird graduation because everything had to go by so quickly. But
Yeah.
as soon as when I showed back up to Texas and I came back to campus, I was like, dang, I was just here. I was just here like 3 weeks ago, like finishing class. So undergrad was definitely like for fun. I made a lot of good friendships that I really wish that I had here. I haven't been here long enough to experience those things quite yet. And like I said before, grad different than undergrad, especially if you're at a new university. So, I mean, it's all of that. There were definitely times where I was like, dang, maybe I shouldn't have, like taken those classes. Maybe I should have just stayed and did track regularly, and just competed and just been like in the same grade as everybody else. I shouldn't have like skipped. But all in all, I mean, and it's a choice that I made, and I'm very happy that I did it. It's putting me in a different situation that I wouldn't have been if I had stayed. But you can't harp on the past, and you can't be mad at yourself for making the choices that you made in the present. So there's definitely a lot of things that I miss about being in Waco, but there's also a lot that I've gotten in a really good situation in the future by being here in Georgia and going to UGA. So best of both worlds. It was postgraduate depression, but it also wasn't postgraduate because I didn't really stop school. You know what I'm saying? I just kind of went
Yeah.
to the next school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I really appreciate that vulnerability and understanding that this shows an even more human element of you. I mean, because of course, you can sometimes you really think that all like if anybody like people when they think that they graduate, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh man, you graduated, you did it. You're not a little kid anymore. You gotta go. But then add being an athlete on top of that, and what the expectation of being an athlete is like, oh, you got your ish together. You just need to perform. You need to bounce the ball. Or you just need to run around the track. Oh, they don't feel anything. They're robots. They just do this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
No, not at all. I mean, I run the same race every time. I run the 400, but every single 400 is different. It's not the same, even though there's a lot of repetition involved in the process for me, particularly in track and field. Every single competition, every single performance, every single day is different. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then, so now my question for you is, of course, your I mean, I guess you identify like I mean, obviously, exterior. Well, see, that's the thing is, I can't really assume, but
Mhm.
on the outside, externally, I can say that you are a black woman. But
Yes.
but but I mean, but then of course that's just saying that alone is discrediting everything else about who you are, and there's an important reason of like intersectionality whenever we do talk about the human experience. And with that, my question for you is, what about like who you are as a person? Um, like what is your opinion on diversity? What does that mean to you?
Mhm.
And how has your identity as a black female graduate student athlete, artist, and all that stuff? What has that taught you, and how has that shaped your worldview?
I think that for one, it's still shaping me. My identity is forever changing. There's a lot of things that you listed that have just been added to the bunch. So, I mean, but being, recognized for all of your attributes and all of your identifiers is extremely important to me just because, you can't, you're right. You can't just say that someone is a black woman and call them that and just that because they are a lot more than that. There's a lot more that encompasses that person than just what racial group they belong to or what ethnicity they might have be what they might have to be. It, it it's just it's a complicated question because for me personally, I don't, in layman's terms, I want to say I don't know who I am yet, but there are certain things that make up who I am. I wouldn't want to
Mm.
give myself a specific like worded definition just because I feel like I would be lying to myself if I tried to do that. But you know, you said I'm an artist. I sing, yes, and I paint, I draw, all that kind of stuff. But if someone were to ask me what I was, I wouldn't tell you that I'm an artist because I think that I haven't reached that confidence level yet in like creative process to call myself that. Um, you know, calling myself when I look to my past, if someone were to ask me that question, I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I was successful. I made it through my track and field career at Baylor relatively injury free. I never really had a career ending injury while I was there. I definitely have had in the past. But that was success through that experience, injury free and, relatively unscathed in other areas, I guess. But I wouldn't tell you that if you asked me. So I think that just goes to say that the like answer to who I am and what makes me is always changing and it's always determined by me. So until you accept those identifiers, it can be, it's just a learning process, I guess. It's a learning process and it's definitely a growth in self-confidence and trusting yourself and esteem in your own, talents, skills, capabilities, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Wow, wow, that's very insightful, very punctual too. I mean, I'm just like, it was just like boom.
It's ever changing.
Yeah, that's ever changing.
Yeah.
And then, but then I diversity. What does that mean to you? Both on, I guess. Oh shoot, yeah, you studied abroad with my LB,
Oh, did
um, Michael
Michael
Ward,
Ward? Yes.
and then so like like and you have run like across the country. You've run a bunch of places, and you get to see the world, like different places. And you've traveled and all that stuff. And so, like, yeah, what does diversity mean to you?
Diversity is definitely important. It's for me, it's all about information. It's all about learning new things. So, like when me and Michael were in London, that was definitely a culture shock. It was both of our first time in London. We had no idea. I remember the first night that we got there, Michael said, "Oh, let's go." And we looked up a club and we jumped in a taxi and we drove to what seemed like literally the other side of London. And we had a great time with people that we didn't really know that well. And at the time, I didn't really know Michael that well, but by the end of that trip, we were all so close, definitely friends, and check in every now and then. So learning about that culture while we were there, taking those classes with the instructor, Mark Mormon, it was super cool. And, just being in a different country surrounded by different people, but also having, like a piece of home with you there. Everybody, all the students on that trip were the piece of home. We all had come from Baylor. So we were all comfortable. And so when we would go together and meet new people on those day adventures and, sit in the park and have our lessons, it was soaking up diversity, I guess, while still being within the comfort of yourself by having people similar to you around. So it's definitely important, and it's all about learning, and it's all about being able to accept and understand or aim to understand everything that surrounds you.
Yeah. And so with that, why do you think it's important for, just for everybody to at least, why is it important for everybody to have a global perspective, especially when we're just considering the things that are going on around the world with COVID-19, Corona,
Yeah.
or just like the fact of you and your experiences and understanding like, hey, I'm going to go to this club with other people that I don't really know, and how to continue to create a bond that I'll have. Like, hey, okay, I can check up on that person, anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, the COVID-19 is definitely the perfect example of that, having, cultural consciousness and global awareness of what's going on. You can't be, or you should try not to be self-pained, self-centered maybe, and definitely not be that in addition to not wanting to understand what's going on. So like, with this, staying inside is important for your own self-preservation, for your family member self-preservation if you're staying with them at the time, but it's also important to understand that you're staying at home because you need to protect people that are at risk, and those people you may not know. So it's easy to say, well, I don't really care, like I'm bored in the house, I want to go outside, I want to go do this, I want to go do that, but you're putting other people at risk. And so those people make up your external environment, and they are definitely diverse from you in that they're different. So making sure that you protect and those other people means that I guess you have an appreciation for the diversity in your environment and in your atmosphere. So this pandemic is for sure a test run, a trial of how much and how important how much importance people place on their environment, their surroundings, their people, whoever's outside of them. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then now, even talking about that, I just like think how cool and fascinating it is that the fact we're talking on this podcast, not in person.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, you're all the way in Georgia,
Yeah.
and we're talking through like, okay, awesome with technology, but like, I want you to talk about how even what the heck, who is Garden? What are y'all
Oh
about?
man.
How are y'all even like, even reaching people in Portland on the radio station? Like, what?
Oh, it's crazy. The origin story, I can't even give you the exact origin story because I still don't even know how we're doing this. But before I all left Waco, me and Nico were on the track team, and I remember Nico and I would always go back and forth. Nico would always start singing some random song lyrics and some stuff, and I would sing the song to her, whatever. We would just be laughing and talking at practice or while we were eating dinner. And I was like, Nico, you can really sing, for real. But he was just playing around. We were both just playing around. And when we had both started, going up to visit Matt Davis, the academic advisor in his office, we would talk about music. We all had like really similar tastes and stuff. And so eventually it turned from, our music appreciation to maybe like bouncing songs off each other, songs that we had, recorded on our phones way back in the day, to, remixing songs, to creating new songs off YouTube using free beats, free for profit beats or whatever. And it evolved to, okay, well, I'm going to buy a microphone, like a real microphone. Okay, I'm going to buy Logic Pro so we can, put this in a real music digital and figure out how to for real make a song and edit and, compressors and limiters and auto tune and all that kind of stuff on it. And after we had maybe made a couple songs, we were like, well, I guess we need a name. So we came up with the name, and it's very natural. I think three of us kind of represent like a different natural element. Um, Nico is super chill, super cool, super smooth. So he's water, and his sound is very relaxing. His voice tone is very, smooth. And um, we deemed Matt to be fire. He's always coming with some really good bars. It's like always super fun and like really loud to bop to.
Yeah.
And I guess they named me Earth. My middle name is Ivy, so I'm very much green. Like I like all things green. So it kind of just worked and went together. And so we named it Garden, with the three being an E, and just go with it. It's still definitely a
Yeah.
work in progress. So
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that, and like, it's kind of funny because whenever you're talking about expanding the creativity and just growing within that aspect, it's terrifying to put yourself
oh
out there.
yes, yes.
Or talk about what type of process it is, understanding that you're putting your songs. I know that I follow your or I used to follow before I deleted my Instagram. I followed your music
Hmm.
page, and just that you're putting covers on, and now the fact that you're putting your stuff on
Yeah.
SoundCloud. What, like, describe the process of what it is in your head, like, okay, I'm about to put this out. I don't know.
I always like whenever we do a song, I'll send it back because at first Matt was the one that like had the Logic program on his computer, so he was the one that was kind of like putting the final touches on everything. And he would send it back. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good! Da, 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 da. We should put this on the page." And I was like, "Okay, I guess that's fine." And he would text me. He'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like so and so listened to the song. They thought it was really, really good." Like, and I'm like, y'all are boosting. Like, people are listening to the song because like they're our friends or whatever, and they're respecting our creative process. They want to support us and blah blah blah. So at first I was kind of not cynical, but really just like, "Oh, this is super cute because all our friends really like it." But I think it kind of got real when Matt made a connection out of and they put one of our songs on like this local radio station, and I was like, "You're joking? Like this? Nah. No, we put our songs on no public radio for everybody to listen to." um
Yeah.
so it's definitely still like for sure a work in progress, and definitely like a growth thing for me, being okay with people listening to our stuff and it being out there for, I guess, free consumption. I don't know, because all my songs used to stay on my phone. Nobody would listen to them. I would just kind of play them for myself and make music for myself. But I think it's important to share. If you're making things, if you're creating things, I think people should be consume what you're making. So it's important, but it's definitely fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely just like a new outlet that might turn into something for real. So
Wow. Do you like, so? And my question for you is, I asked Emma Ruth. I think I did her episode with her on
mhm.
Saturday. And I asked her, do you want to be famous?
Question mark.
Yeah, like, would you like to be famous, or are you creating for the, like, just for the fact of creating, or do you seek fame, and like, what's your relationship with that? Because I mean, of course, with an athlete or anything, like, you're well
Mhm.
known. People like, and of course, track isn't the biggest sport unless it's the Olympics, but people that know the sport be like, oh yeah, that's VP, yeah, like, oh my gosh, but like, now that you're like emerging into the scene of like artistry and
Mhm.
creativity, and some people end up wanting to end up being famous and like that. Like, what is your relationship? And of course, I even see on your Instagram how you were being followed around with the camera because you were like interviewing people or something like that
Yeah,
too.
I mean, if I were to become famous, I guess off of whatever it be, maybe like track and field or this music stuff, I'll take it. Shoot, I'm not gonna turn it away, but it's not something that I would like actively want to go after. Like, back to like what I said before, I'm still trying to build confidence within my own creative process and how I feel about like music and sending it to people or letting them find it, letting them listen to it. So I don't know. I feel like I kind of uncomfortable in that area, of people being like, oh my god, like I like your stuff, oh my god, can I take your picture? I'd be like, are you sure? Is that what you want? But I don't know. I think like anything else that I'm doing at the time, I honestly comes, if I get a job, after this internship, great. If I don't, okay, cool, we're moving on to the next thing, and I'll find something else to do. Same with the creative process. If I like a song, cool, let's add to it, let's do more. If not, okay, well, let's move on to the next project. So
Yeah. And that's really good. That's really good.
yeah, thank you.
And then so now this is like a big question that I ask all my guests. So now I'm with the last two questions.
Mm-hmm.
But my first question for you is, what would you like to see change in the United States?
What would I like to? Oh, can I say the presidency? Is that okay? Oh,
Hey, no, like it's open to all your. You open to your whole interpretation.
I guess that's one of them, but I think it's sorry, but okay. But for me, like as I've been, in the house, being on social media too much, my screen time has gone up by like 69%, 70%. It's crazy. But I think like looking at those pictures, I saw a picture today of like the LA skyline. And because, people have been on lockdown and they've been inside and they haven't really been doing anything, like the smog has been lifted kind of sort of out of the valley. It's a lot brighter, the air quality is better. So,
Yeah.
Just I wish that the United States would maybe see an appreciation in kind of like the craziness that's going on right now for the environment and maybe for people's overall health. It's not the greatest being in quarantine lockdown. I understand like small businesses, local businesses are losing tons of revenue and money and customers, and it's not ideal for anybody, big or small. But I think it is doing some good for maybe like a environmental reset, and maybe for like a spiritual reset, a self-preservation reset. Just I think we kind of have to go back to being simple and finding beauty in the small things, and finding happiness or contentment in things that don't involve going outside or doing what we would normally do in our regular daily routines if this weren't happening right now. So I would hope that maybe United States citizens can know the roses in their backyard, but stay within a 10-foot radius of a person. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. And now my last question for you is, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want I mean, I was going to say I want my legacy to be a good one, but I don't know what a good one means. I feel like I want my legacy to be positive. I would like it to maybe showcase things about myself that I appreciate. So I appreciate my, newly budding creativeness. So musically inclined, whether that be some other kind of, creative artistic outlet, I would like to be known for that. I think I'd like to just be known as somebody that was able to, handle a lot of tasks and take things with a good measure of, take things as they come. Take a coin from everything, being able to handle tough situations and handle different adjustments, and just being okay with it, and being able to, transition and adjust. I think that that's like one of my good qualities. So I think I'd like to be known for that.
So this is my last segment of the podcast. It's called the Speak Life segment. It's just an opportunity to speak life with my guest. So yeah, here we go. The Ivy. I just want to say, you okay? You all right? I mean,
Yeah.
you ain't. Yeah, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah,
So I
it's
just want to
okay.
say, no. I just want to say, first and foremost, I am absolutely impressed by all the work and all the things that you are doing, and how you're continuing to grow into yourself. Understanding that this personal time of development and you continuing to achieve at such a high level with your discipline, your work ethic, and just understanding like your humility and how kind you are. At first, when the very first time I met you, I thought I was low key kind of scared and nervous of you because I was like, man, I don't know. He seems kind of mean. He
Oh
seems kind of
no.
mean.
Everybody says I need to stop walking around. It's just my face.
No, but then as I got to continue to get to know you, like you are you're so genuine. You have such a good soul, and just the fact that you're expressing your creativity and using your talents that God has gifted you, both on the field, on the track, and off the track, and just how you continue to give good energy.
Thank you.
It's truly enlightening, and I'm very grateful to have met you and crossed paths with you. And I
Yes.
pray for nothing but great success and love and great energy, and hopefully that your internship is staying there in New York, even though New York is going through a lot right now,
Yeah.
and that you know what, you go after the dreams that are in your heart. And I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. And I'm super proud of you too. This podcast thing, it's really nice. I appreciate you for having me on here.
Yeah, but all right, y'all, that is it for episode number 11 of Campus Cuts. Can you believe that we've been speaking over an hour?
Yeah, that's long. It's crazy, but it was a good conversation.
Nah, it's not. And that's it, y'all. We out. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, wow. How do you feel? This is
That
your first
was
time on a podcast?
yeah, that was super cool.
First of many for you. I just know that.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. But I'm glad. You know, it was super special being able to do it with somebody from school. So
I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate your time. I know that you're super busy, so thank you so much, Victoria.
yeah, of course. And you can just text me. Just let me know if you need anything. I appreciate you.
Yeah. What I do need is just a picture of you, and I'll let you know when I post this podcast episode. This episode won't be out until like what, a month from now.
Okay.
I think. But I'll let you know and I'll keep you updated. But send me a picture of you.
Okay. Yeah.
So I can post it on Instagram, whatever.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll send you a picture.
All right. And I'll send you the episode when it's up and everything.
All right. Cool.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We'll talk to you.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.